Hello, and welcome. I want you to think of a key. Not just any key, but a master key. A single key that doesn't just open one door, but millions of doors. Doors to better jobs, doors to global travel and adventure, doors to new friendships, and doors to the vast library of human knowledge. That master key exists. And it is the English language. This is a fact of our modern world. We feel it every day. But have you ever stopped to ask the most fundamental question? Why? Why this one language, born on a small, rainy island on the edge of Europe? Why not Mandarin, spoken natively by over 1 billion people? Why not Spanish, with its vast cultural reach? Today, we are going on a deep and fascinating journey through centuries of history, power, and culture to understand exactly how English became the world's global language and what that undeniable fact means for your future. To understand the present, we must first travel to the past. And the story of English is the story of an unlikely champion. 1,000 years ago, English was what linguists would call a mutt language. It was a messy, regional dialect, a chaotic blend of Germanic roots from Anglo-Saxon tribes, infused with Old Norse from Viking invasions, and then completely transformed by a massive injection of French after the Norman conquest of 1066. It was, by all objective measures, unimportant on the world stage. So, what propelled this underdog language to global dominance? The first major factor was not the language's inherent beauty or simplicity, but the powerful machine that carried it across the globe, the British Empire. Propelled by the unmatched power of the Royal Navy, Britain began to build the largest empire in history. As British colonists, administrators, merchants, and missionaries spread to every corner of the earth, to North America, to India, to Australia, to large parts of Africa, they took their language with them as an essential tool of their enterprise. In these vast and diverse colonies, English became the language of power. It was the language of the government, of the courts, of prestigious schools, and of commerce. This created a linguistic hierarchy. While hundreds of local languages continued to thrive, English became the aspirational language, the language one needed to succeed within the structure of the empire. As the 20th century progressed, the British Empire began to decline, and its colonies fought for and won their independence. But a fascinating and crucial thing happened. In many of these new, incredibly diverse nations like India, Nigeria, or South Africa, with hundreds of their own beautiful local languages, English was often kept as a neutral, official language. It was a practical tool for a multi-ethnic society to communicate with itself. The seeds of English had been planted globally, and they had taken root. But it was the second and arguably more powerful factor that would turn these scattered roots into a worldwide forest. If the British Empire loaded the gun, it was the rise of a new superpower that pulled the trigger, the United States of America. The story of English's absolute, unshakable dominance begins in the year 1945. At the end of World War II, much of the world lay in economic ruin. The United States, however, emerged with its industrial base intact and an economy of unprecedented power and wealth. Through initiatives like the Marshall Plan, America poured money into rebuilding the world. And at the Bretton Woods Conference, the world's financial leaders made a pivotal decision. They established the US dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. This economic decision had a profound linguistic consequence. It meant every central bank, every major international corporation, every ambitious financier needed to hold and trade in US dollars. The global economy was now centered on Wall Street. To get a loan from the World Bank, to trade commodities, to participate in the new global financial system, you had to do business with American institutions. And to do that, you had to speak their language. English was no longer just a colonial language. It became the non-negotiable language of global capitalism. But America's influence wasn't just economic. It was also a cultural tsunami that washed over the entire planet. This was the era of soft power, the power of attraction and influence. It began with the silver screen of Hollywood. The glamour of movie stars like Marilyn Monroe, the cool rebellion of James Dean, and the epic scale of American films created a vision of life that was incredibly attractive to a global audience. The world didn't just want to buy American products, they wanted a piece of the American dream. Then came the music. The raw, revolutionary energy of rock and roll, from Elvis Presley to Chuck Berry, became a universal language of youth. This was followed by the British invasion, where bands like the Beatles consciously sang in English to reach the massive American market, and in doing so, reached the entire world. English became the language of pop music, the soundtrack for generations. And then came the final, decisive blow: the creation of the Internet. The foundational architecture of the Internet, the domain name system, was invented and developed in the United States, in English. The first websites, the first search engines like Google, the first social networks, they were all built with English at their core. English became hard-coded into the very DNA of our new digital world. This trifecta of power, economic, cultural, and technological, was further cemented by two final domains: science and politics. In the mid-20th century, the world's top scientific minds, many fleeing conflict in Europe, flocked to universities in the United States and the United Kingdom. This brain drain solidified English as the undisputed language for groundbreaking scientific research, academic journals, and international conferences. A powerful feedback loop was created. The best research was published in English, so every ambitious scientist in the world had to master English to stay at the cutting edge. Politically, when new global institutions like the United Nations and NATO were formed to ensure peace and cooperation, they faced a practical problem. What language would they use for diplomacy? Given the dominant influence of the US and the UK in the post-war order and the global spread of the language already, English was the logical and practical choice for a common, working language. This enshrined its role as the language of global governance and international law. So, let's take a moment to understand the result of this perfect historical storm. English achieved a status no language in human history has ever held. Now, it's crucial to note that English is not the language with the most native speakers. That title belongs to Mandarin Chinese. But this is where we must differentiate. While Mandarin has more native speakers, English has vastly more total speakers when you include the billion-plus people who speak it as a second, third, or fourth language. It is, by an enormous margin, the world's most widely learned second language. It is the language a software developer in Japan uses to collaborate with a colleague in Brazil. It is the language a pilot from Germany uses to speak to an air traffic controller in the UAE. English has become the default global operating system for human communication. This raises the critical question for our 21st century world. Will this dominance last? In an age with a rising China, a growing Spanish-speaking population, and revolutionary AI technology, will English hold its throne? The evidence, for now, points to a clear and resounding answer: yes. In fact, English's position as the global lingua franca seems to be getting stronger, not weaker. This is due to a powerful economic and social phenomenon known as the network effect. A network effect occurs when a service or platform becomes more valuable as more people use it. Think about the first person who owned a telephone. It was useless. But as more and more people got telephones, the value of the entire network grew exponentially for everyone. English has reached this critical mass. With over 1.5 billion people speaking it, there is an immense, almost irresistible, incentive for the next billion learners to choose English over any other language. Learning English gives you access to the biggest possible network of people, information, and opportunities. This creates a powerful, self-reinforcing cycle that is incredibly difficult to break. It is now considered less of a foreign language and more of a basic life skill for navigating the modern world. This global demand has profound real-world consequences for individuals on a personal, economic level. Study after study, across dozens of countries and industries, has shown a direct and undeniable correlation between English proficiency and higher income. In the global job market, English is not just another skill on your resume. It's an economic asset that can dramatically increase your earning potential. It unlocks access to better career opportunities, not just in your home country, but globally. So, let's seriously consider the potential challengers. Could Mandarin, the language of the world's second-largest economy, eventually take its place? While China's economic power is undeniable, the Mandarin language itself presents significant hurdles for global adoption. Its complex, character-based writing system, which requires memorizing thousands of unique symbols, and its tonal nature, where the meaning of a syllable changes based on its pitch, make it exceptionally difficult for most adult learners. It lacks the relative simplicity and alphabetic accessibility of English. What about Spanish? With over 500 million native speakers and a rich, vibrant global culture, it is a true world language. Its influence, especially in the Americas and Europe, is immense and growing. However, its role as the primary language of global business, finance, technology, and high-level scientific research does not yet rival that of English. Its power, while vast, is more regional, whereas English's influence permeates every international sector. While both Mandarin and Spanish will undoubtedly grow in global importance, neither is projected to displace English as the primary global lingua franca in our lifetime. The existing global infrastructure is simply too deeply intertwined with English. It would be like trying to change the fundamental code of the internet while it's still running. It's not impossible, but it is extraordinarily impractical and unlikely. This brings us to the final, most modern challenger: artificial intelligence. Will powerful, real-time translation tools like the ones we're starting to see today make learning English obsolete? This is a fascinating question. There is no doubt that AI will be a revolutionary tool for low-fidelity communication. It will make simple travel interactions, like ordering food or asking for directions, seamless. It will be fantastic for translating text and getting the basic gist of an article. But I want to argue that for high-fidelity communication, the kind that truly matters, AI is a tool, not a replacement. An AI can translate the words of a business contract, but can it sit in a room and build the human relationship and trust needed to sign that contract? An AI can translate a joke, but can it understand the cultural context, the timing, and the nonverbal cues to make that joke land and create a real connection? True communication is more than just data transfer. It's about empathy, nuance, trust, and shared understanding. These are things that happen when human beings connect through a shared language, and for the foreseeable future, that shared language will overwhelmingly be English. So, after this journey through history, economics, and technology, what does this all mean for you, right here, right now? It means that in the 21st century, not having a functional command of English is like living in a massive, beautiful library with millions of books, but willingly choosing to only ever read the books in one small corner. You might be comfortable in that corner. It might be familiar. But you're voluntarily cutting yourself off from the vast majority of human knowledge, stories, and conversations that are happening in all the other rooms. Over time, you might not even realize how many other rooms there are. The walls of your world can shrink without you even noticing. Not knowing English in our interconnected age can create an invisible barrier that limits your access to knowledge, your career potential, and your ability to connect with the incredible diversity of the human family. Conversely, learning English is a profound act of empowerment. It is not just a tool. It is strength. It is access. It is freedom. Let's make this tangible. What are the concrete benefits you gain? The first and most immediate for many is dramatically expanded career opportunities. This isn't just a vague idea. It's a practical reality. It means being able to apply for that dream job at a multinational corporation that has an office in your city. It means being able to join the global remote work economy, potentially working for a company in London or Toronto from your own home office. It means being able to collaborate with international teams, lead global projects, and ultimately, significantly increase your lifetime earning potential. The second benefit is the freedom to navigate the world with confidence and without fear. Imagine the difference between two travelers. One, without English, is often anxious, dependent on guides, and limited to tourist traps. The other, with English, is a true explorer. You can confidently navigate a new city's subway system. You can strike up a conversation with a fellow traveler from Japan or Argentina in a hostel. You can ask a local shopkeeper for their story and find the hidden restaurant that isn't in the guidebooks. The stress of the language barrier dissolves, and it is replaced by a profound sense of independence, curiosity, and security. The third benefit is perhaps the most powerful and life-changing of all: the ability to learn absolutely anything you want directly from the source. This is the ultimate freedom. The vast majority of human knowledge accumulated and digitized is stored and shared in English. Do you want to learn to code from free courses offered by Stanford and MIT? Do you want to understand the latest breakthroughs in medicine by reading the original research papers? Do you want to learn a new skill, whether it's digital marketing or playing the guitar, by watching tutorials from the world's leading experts on YouTube? English is the key that unlocks this global library. It is the power of intellectual independence. When you combine these three benefits, your career, your travels, and your own knowledge, you realize that English is not just a language. It is a fundamental power. It is the power to choose your path, to design your future, and to build a life that is not limited by geography or circumstance. So, we have explored the history, we have seen the future, and we have understood the immense, life-changing benefits. The final question, the only question that truly matters now, is this: what are you going to do about it? Knowledge is only potential power. Understanding why English is important is a great first step, but that understanding alone will not make you fluent. The only thing that will is a deep and unwavering commitment to action. And that commitment must start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you have more time.
Today.
I urge you, don't just be a passive listener of this video. Be an active participant in your own future. Make the decision right now, in this moment, that you will commit to this journey.
Latih bahasa Inggris setiap hari.
Practice English every single day, even if it's just for 15 minutes.
Jangan takut membuat kesalahan.
Do not be afraid of making mistakes. Embrace them as proof that you are trying. And whatever you do, jangan pernah menyerah. Never, ever give up. Because I promise you, committing to this skill, truly and deeply committing, will be one of the best and most rewarding decisions you will ever make for your entire life. That key to 1,000,000 new doors? It's not for sale. It can't be given to you. It must be forged. You forge it with daily practice, with courage, and with a patient belief in your own potential. Start forging your key today. Thank you for watching.